Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're all doing great. Recently, I've received many requests that I continue creating more tutorials on FastAPI framework, especially after the good reviews of the Farm Stack course and FastAPI crash course videos. There was 3 particular requests to demonstrate how to authenticate users in a FastAPI application. Only authenticated users will be granted access and control over the usual verbs in any other application: get, post, put, and delete. Only in this application, we'll be demonstrating on the post verb only. So this is what we're going to be doing today with FastAPI and JSON Web Tokens, or Jot for short. Just before we get started, I would like to thank all the new subscribers to the channel. Feel free to reach out in case of any question, or if you need me to help you with your school or university projects. I do my best to create high-quality tutorials to help you better understand different sides of different technologies. So if you feel like supporting us, you can do so by just subscribing, like the video, and ask me any questions in the comments. And you can also share these videos with your friends and colleagues. That would really mean a lot to me. Now with that out of the way, let's roll up our sleeves and get started. So let's talk for a minute about authentication. Authentication is the process of verifying users before granting them access to secure resources. And when a user is authenticated, they're allowed to access these secured resources, which are naturally not publicly shared. We will be looking at authenticating a FastAPI application with token-based authentication, which involves generating security tokens. They are called bearer tokens or holder tokens because you, the user who want to be authenticated, you are the holder of that token, of that security key that will prove that you should be authorized to these secured resources. And the bearer tokens in this case will be the JOTs or the JSON Web Tokens. And by the way, I have a Flask Jot tutorial demonstrating the same thing. But as you see nowadays, the hype for FastAPI is real, and developers are switching from Flask to FastAPI for a lot of reasons, like super speed, for instance. And you can take a look here to the techempower.com website. You will find different statistics about the speed, the latency. Here, for example, we have responses per second at 20 queries per request. And you can see on the screen that FastAPI is number 11 with 12,774 responses per second at 20 queries per request. And this is a very high performance, very high score. You can see here, higher is better. Starlet comes next. UV-Corn number 17, Pyramid is 36, Tornado 41, Flask 42. So you see the difference between Flask and FastAPI. 12,774 responses versus 1,773 responses. And this is in general a performance comparison executing fundamental tasks like JSON serialization, database access, server-side template composition, and each framework here is operating in a realistic production configuration. So the bottom line here is FastAPI is really fast, and this is one of the main reasons that a lot of developers are switching from Flask to FastAPI. Not only speed, but also performance, ease of syntax. You have something like Pedantic that allows modern Python typing. You have asynchronous requests with async await syntax. So you see the advantages of using FastAPI are huge and time and effort efficient for you as a developer. Alright, so I'm going to create a folder now. I'll call it FastAPI-app, and let's cd that. And let's open that folder with Visual Studio Code. Alright, so you see I have an empty folder called FastAPI-app, and let's actually activate the virtual environment. I'm using pipenv. So now I'm going to activate the virtual environment by typing pipenv shell. All right, perfect. Let's create together requirements.txt. We are going to include in that file our dependencies we need for now FastAPI and UV-Corn server. So the FastAPI version is 0.70.0, and also I need UV-Corn 0.15.0. Save that. And Control L to clear the terminal. pipenv install -r requirements.txt. So FastAPI does not have a built-in development server like the G-Unicorn, which is a WSGI server in Flask, for instance. So we're using UVcorn here, which is an ASGI server. So ASGI stands for Asynchronous Gateway Interface, and WSGI, which is in Flask, is Web Server Gateway Interface. So the UVcorn server here we're using in FastAPI, this has one role, is to serve up FastAPI. So this will actually connect the server to our application. But it's way faster than WSGI in Flask. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead here and create one folder, call it app. And inside app, I'm going to create another folder. I will call it auth for our Jot authentication functionalities. And also inside app, I'm going to have model.py. And then in the main FastAPI-app, I'm going to have a main.py file. So let's just close that first. And let's create main.py. So main.py is going to be our main entry point for running the application. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and import UVcorn. And also I want to import from FastAPI. I want to get FastAPI. And I'm going to instantiate a FastAPI application, app equal to FastAPI. Not this one, FastAPI. And now we have our main application, which is an instance of the FastAPI class. Okay. And below here, I'm going to create a decorator for my main application with a get route. And this is going to be the home page. And tags, we're going to give it tags or group. Let's actually call it tests. This is actually a test for the GET request. So creating a function called greet, going to return hello world. All right. Now to run a FastAPI app, you will need to use the UVcorn server here. So UVcorn main, which is our main file, which is called main.py, column app, and this means that the main file is mapped toward the app application or the instance of that FastAPI class. Then -- reload, and reload is the same like the debug mode in Flask. Okay, you don't have to restart the server each time you want to make modification. And this -- reload helps you to update or modify your web page without interrupting the server, without disconnecting and then connecting and then refreshing the page. Instead, you can hit refresh and the modifications will be applied immediately. Okay, so let's hit enter. All right, perfect. So it's running on the local host port 8000. Let's click on that link. And we have our hello world. Okay, and if we will go to docs, you'll have here the test, which is the tags that we have defined. We have our GET request with the method of greet. If you will click on try it out, execute, you will have a successful response, hello world. And if you will take that curl link, you will copy it. And if you have git bash installed on your system, you can just enter this on your terminal. Or if you're running on Linux or Mac, it has curl already installed in your bash terminal. So you don't have to install anything. But for Windows, you will need git bash installed. And hit enter, and you will get a successful response, hello world. All right. So now we are sure that everything is working okay initially, and our application is well instantiated. All right, just before we move on, let's go ahead and import Pedantic in model.py. So from Pedantic, I want to import base model field and an email validator, which is the email stir. And let's go ahead and create a class, and this class for posting, and this is actually for the post schema. So post schema, it will take the base model. So we will need different fields. We will need an ID, we'll need a title, and we will need the content. So this is going to be a blog post actually. So there will be a schema for the post and a schema for the user. So first we are starting by the post schema, and after we're going to create the user schema. So the ID is actually an of type integer, and it's going to be equal to field, and I'll give it default to none. And I need two more. Here I need the title, and the title is stir of type stir. Field also I will leave it. I will leave the default to none. This is base model, not maze model. Also we need the content, and I want to give an extra schema for the configuration. So how the post is going to be formatted. So here below, let's create another subclass, and I'm going to call it config. So the schema extra is equal to an object or a dictionary, and the first or the only key here, it's a key value pair. So the first key is post demo. I'm going to call it post demo, and it has a value of two key value pairs, a title and a content. We won't include the ID because it's auto increment, so I don't need to put it manually. So the title, say here some title about animals, and the content, some content about animals. So that's what the format of the post should look like. Okay, in the main.py file, we will need to import the post schema. So let me just show you the whole map. So from app.model, I want to import the post schema. Okay, the post schema class, we'll need it here. And let me just create dummy posts. So we're not going to wire up with any database. It's just dummy data here for posts, but you can go ahead and raise the bar and try to connect that at the end of the tutorial. Of course, after you have seen everything, you can try to connect this with MongoDB or PostgreSQL for data persistence. Okay, so posts is a list actually, and the first post here. So ID here is one as an integer, title, penguins, and some text about penguins. I'm also going to add two more posts. All right, now we have three posts: penguins, tigers, and koalas. And also I want users list, which is going to be empty for now, and we're going to append the users to the users list later. Now let's go ahead and add more routes. So we are going to add get all posts and get a post by ID, get an individual post by ID. So here, let's just add a comment here. This is not get post, just get for testing. It doesn't have to do anything. We can delete it actually. Just I will leave it for now. Here, get posts, and also we want get post by ID, get single post by ID. Okay, that's better. Okay, so also let's just give them numbers 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so this is very easy. We want our app decorator to get all posts. And now the tags, we are going to give it a name of posts. And we're going to define a function. We're going to give it a name of get posts. And we're simply going to return the posts. So return, and you can say data. Here we're going to return all the posts. which is our main list here. So this is to get all posts. And if I want to get one post only, we want to just target by a specific ID. So get, and in the route, we will need to go to posts route and then an additional route for the ID. Then also in the tags of posts. So def get, we are going to call it get one posts. Get one posts. And also here I want to specify that the ID is of a type integer. And here I want to check if the ID that I'm entering is bigger than the length of the posts. If this is true, I want to enter, or I want to return an error message actually. So we are going to return error post with this ID does not exist. And then we want to loop over posts. So for post in posts, I want to check if the ID of that post, so if post sub ID is equal to whatever ID I'm entering, which will be in the parameter, in the argument here, in the main input. If this is true, let's go ahead and return that post. So return post. All right, let's just go ahead and try that. But first, let's trap the tags. Let's trap what's inside the list in double quotes. Okay, save, and let's get back to our page. Okay, good. So we have both posts, posts tags. We have get posts and get post by ID. Okay, so get posts. If you try it now, execute, we're going to fetch everything from our list. Okay, so data, ID1, title text, ID2, title text, ID3, title and content. I don't know why. There's just a mistake. Here is text. Okay, so not big deal. Let's just try with one post by ID. So get one post, and let's click try it out. And if we want the third ID, execute, and we get the ID3 of the koalas. Okay, pretty cool. And if you will take that, copy and paste in your bash terminal, hit enter, and you will get the same result. Okay, cool. Now let's go ahead and work on our posts method or posts request. So let's just add here number 4, post a single blog post. Without single, because naturally it's a single blog post. So, or for more explanation, a handler for creating a post. Okay, so again, we need our decorator app.not_get post, and we're going to post on the same route /posts, and the tags naturally is going to be posts. And let's create our function. We'll call it add post, and the post here in the parameter is going to be called or mapped from the post schema. You remember from our mongodb.py, okay, that we have imported here. And here we want to continue adding posts. So post 0, so 0 plus 1 is going to be equal 1, 1 plus 1 equal 2, 2 plus 1 equal 3, and so on. So post.id is equal to the length of the posts, which is currently 3, and we're going to increment it by 1. Also, we're going to append each post to the posts list. So posts.append, and inside here post.dictionary, because each post is of a type dictionary. And we will return info post added. All right, now let's go ahead to our page and refresh again. And we should see the post request or the post route. If we will try it out, we will say here title, let's say cats, and let's type cats are cute. Okay, execute. And we have here status code 200, which means successful response. Info post added. And you remember when I spoke about UVcorn, there it is. Server is UVcorn. Okay, and if we'll take this, we'll copy that. Again, we will go to our bash terminal, hit enter, info post added. So it should be added 2 times. One time we did it from the OpenAPI, from the Swagger, and the second time we did it from curl. So if you'll go ahead and get posts, try it out, execute, we should see 2 times. There it is. All right, so before we move on, let's go ahead and create the JSON Web Tokens token handler. We're going also to create a class to handle the bearer tokens. So before beginning, we will need to install the PyJot package, and the PyJot package is used to encode and decode the JOTs or the JSON Web Tokens. We're going also to use the Python decouple dependency or package, and this is used for reading the environment variables. Now let's go ahead and ppnv install requirements.txt in order to add both packages, the PyJot and the Python decouple. In the meantime, we'll go to the auth folder, and I want to create jot_handler.py. And the Jot handler file is going to be responsible for signing, for encoding, decoding, and returning the tokens. So let's just add a comment here. This file is responsible So until the installation of the dependencies is finished, let's go ahead and import time. And the time module will be responsible for setting an expiration limit for the tokens. Because every jot or every token has an expiry date or expiry time where it becomes invalid at some point. All right, the installation is finished. The next package that we want to import is Jot, and the Jot module is responsible for encoding and decoding generated token strings. And the third package is from decouple. We will import config. And decouple helps you to organize your settings so that you can change parameters without having to redeploy your application. It also makes it easy for you to store parameters in an ini or .env files. So this is what we're going to do now. So here in the base directory, go ahead and create .env file. And in that .env file, we will need two things: a secret, which will be a secret key, and the Jot algorithm. And I'm going to show you on the website right now. But first, let's have a secret. And in Python, there are a million ways to generate a random secret key. But I prefer personally, let me just show you very quickly. So go to your Python interpreter and import a package called secrets. Okay, it's a built-in package, you don't have to install it. Then use that package secrets.token_hex, and you enter the number of the characters that you want Python randomly to generate it. So let's say 16 characters, for instance. Enter, and you will have a random character. If you want more, you can type 20, you can get more. If you want less, you can get less. I'm going to use the 16 characters tokens hex here, and I'm going to paste that. And the second variable is the algorithm. And the algorithm is going to be HS256. All right, good. Now let's close the .env file and let's get back to our Jot handler file. What I want to do now is I want to create two variables. One will be the Jot secret and another for the Jot algorithm. Okay, will be like pointing towards the secret and the algorithm in the .env file. So Jot secret is equal to config secret. Oops. And Jot algorithm. All right, so the secret key is used for encoding and decoding Jot strings, and the algorithm value is the type of the algorithm used in the encoding process, which is, as we said, HS256. Now I want to create a function which basically will return the token. So I'm going to call it token underscore response, and it's going to take the token with the type of string, and it will return, and here I will say access token, and we will return that token, or we'll display that token here. And now what happens that these JSON Web Tokens are encoded into strings from a dictionary payload. All right, so this function returns generated tokens. Let me just minimize that a little bit. Let's close this and let's actually close that for now. We don't need it. The next function that I want to create is a function that will use to sign the Jot string. So the payload for this sign Jot, so let me just create it first, sign Jot, and we'll need the user ID. Okay, and this is going to be of type string. We have a payload which will essentially be equal to a dictionary composed of a user ID and expiry or expiration time. So first of all, we have the user ID, which is passed in the parameter above in the sign Jot function. And this is mapped toward the user ID. And the value for that key is the user ID passed. And also we want expiry or expiration date or time. And the expiry is being set to time. That's why we have imported the time module above. So time.time, and we are going to add, let's say, 1200 milliseconds. But that's not all, because we want the token now. And the token is going to be equal to the Jot package dot encode. We're going to encode everything inside that method. So first of all, we need the payload. Next, we want the key, or our secret key that we have defined in the .env file. Last but not least is the algorithm, which is equal to our Jot underscore algorithm. Okay, so these are the three main things that we'll need to encode using the Jot, and all of that is going to be stored in a variable called token. So we want to pass all of that as an input in the token response. Let me just add one comment here. Good. The last function in our Jot handler.py will be the Decode Jot, and the Decode Jot function will take the token and decodes it with the aid of the Jot module. Let me just show you that very quickly. So let's go ahead and create that Decode Jot function, and the Decode Jot function also will take that token of type of string, and we want to decode that token. So go ahead and create a new variable called Decode Token, which will be equal to that Jot package dot decode method. And inside the decode method, we're going to pass the token. We also need the key, which is the Jot secret. And also the algorithm is pointing towards the Jot algorithm. So what happens here is that this function takes the token and decodes it with the 8 of the Jot module. And then it stores all of that in the decode underscore token variable. And then we want to return the decode token if the expiration date is still valid. Okay, so if decode underscore token expires here is more than or equal to the current time, else we're going to return none. And let's actually wrap all of that in a try except block. And here we will return whatever will be returned. So again, this is actually a function that takes the token and decodes it with that Jot module. And then it stores it in the decode token, and we're going to return it unless the expiration time is over. Just one very important note, that the token itself is not encrypted. It's a base 64 representing binary data. To put it simply, just this is a binary to text, zeros and ones encoded to plain text and signed. Okay, so anyone can decode the token and use the data, but only the server here on the Jot website can verify its authenticity using the Jot secret. All right, perfect. Now let's go ahead to the model.py, and we want to add more schemas for handling the registration and the login. So I'm creating a user schema now, user schema base model. And I need the full name of type of stir, and this is equal to field, and let's the default make it equal to none. Also email of type of email stir, which we have imported above, and email stir is an email validator. So later we will need to install an email validator package from Pedantic, and this is also the field default equal to none. And password of type of string, and this is equal to, again, I know this is boring, just bear with me, we're almost there. Default equal to none. Also, let's have a class for the configuration, just for the format. So we'll call that the schema, and the schema here will have just call that user demo, and we'll have a name, Bek, email. Okay, so this is the general schema for the user. Also, I need the user login. Let's actually copy that. So instead of the user schema, it's going to be the user login schema. And I don't need the full name, because in order to log in, we need only the email and the password. Okay, and user demo, that's fine. And here we don't need the name, we need only the email and the password. Good. Now let's go to our main file, and we're going to import the schemas and also the Jot sign function from the Jot handler file that we have created. So let's go to main, and let's go here above, and we're going to import from app.model. We want to import post schema. We want to import user schema and user login schema. I also want to import from app.auth.jot handler. I want to import, and it was called the sign Jot. Need that for signing. All right, let's just go and check out what we have so far. Let's just close that, and UVcorn main app -- load. And let's go directly to docs. Something wrong. Okay. Oh, okay. We did not install that for the email validator. I told you that we want to install the email validator from Pedantic, but we didn't do it. Okay, so let's do that actually quickly. ppnv install Pedantic email. All right, perfect. Just run the server in the background. Okay, let's just close this one. Okay, we don't have any errors. I won't use anything now because we will need to create the sign up and the login routes. I will leave it here in the background, and let's go ahead now and create these routes. So the fifth route actually is going to be for user sign up, create a new user. So we're going to create a new tags. So let's have our app decorator dot posts, and we're going to have the user route slash sign up, and here we will have our user tags, and let's create a function called user sign up. So this is for new users, and the user is pointing to the user schema, if you remember, that we have created and imported from the model.py. All right, and what I want to do is to append each new user to the users list. So users dot append each user. Okay, let me just add the default to be equal to none. And by the way, I will need to add body from FastAPI, import FastAPI and body. All right, and then we want to invoke the sign Jot method. Okay, so we will return that actually sign Jot, passing inside the user's email. So user dot email, and that's why we had to install the email validator from Pedantic. Next, we want to define a function. This function will check if a user already exists before creating a Jot with the user's email. So this is just a function to check the user, and the data here will be pointing to the user login schema. And if you remember, in the model.py, the user login schema had the email and the password. So here, what we want to do actually is to iterate through the users. So for user in users, we want to check if user.email is equal to data.email and user.password is equal to data.password. If all of that is true, then we want to return true. Else we will return false. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and check out our Open API. All right, so we have here our user sign up. Take a look here. Perfect. We have the schema. And if you will try it out, actually nothing will happen. But just the value will change. Let's say, for instance, hello. And we will get an error because we didn't create our login yet. But if you will clear that, and if you will say cancel, you see that everything has been changed here. All right, so let's reset that, and let's get back to our code. Now it's time to create our login route. And also here, by the way, should be a slash like that, // The same thing goes here, user login, and the tags is also going to be user. And let's create a function. We will call it here user sign up. Let's make it user login. And I want to map the user instead of the user schema here, the user login schema. User login schema. Okay. And also the body, we want to return signed Jot with the user email because he has already signed up and registered with his email. Else, we will say that the information that you have entered, whether the email or the password, are invalid. So we want to take our check user function and we're going to pass in here the user, and we will return signed Jot method with user.email. Else, we will return a message that says that invalid login details. Simple as that. Return. Oops, I forgot the default. Default equal to none. All right, let's save that. All good. All good. Okay, let's get back to our Swagger UI and check this out. User sign up and user login. So user sign up, let's actually try to sign up. Full name, let's say John. String, let's say hello 123. Okay, execute. Okay, we have a server error. Oh, okay, in Jot handler here, algorithm. Okay, all good. Let's try that out one more time. Let's execute, and there you go. This is our Jot. Okay, and if you will scroll below here and you try to log in, let's actually try to log in with any other user that has not signed up. So let's say, for instance, Dan, and any password. Let's keep it string. Execute. We'll have invalid login details. If we will enter our email correctly, we'll say hello 123. Execute. And we will get also our token. So the last step here is securing the routes. As I said, we need to verify the protected routes. So we're going to do that by checking whether the request is authorized or not. So we're going to scan the request for the token in the authorization header. And FastAPI provides actually basic validation via something called HTTP bearer class. We're going to use the HTTP bearer class in order to extract and parse the token. All right, so let's go ahead to our auth folder and create jot_bearer.py. So the objective of this file is to check out if the request is authorized or not. So I want to import a bunch of dependencies here. So from FastAPI, I will import requests and HTTP exception. And also I want to import from FastAPI.security. I want to import the HTTP bearer. We also need HTTP authorization credentials. And let me just create a class. I will call it Jot bearer, and this will take HTTP bearer class as the main parameter or the main argument. So this Jot bearer class is a subclass of the FastAPI's HTTP bearer class. This will be used to persist authentication on the routes. So the Jot bearer class is a subclass of the FastAPI's HTTP bearer class. And let's have init method. Init has self as the first argument. Next, auto_error of type boolean, and we'll set it to true. And super method takes the Jot bearer class. And here the Jot bearer class has the HTTP bearer super class. Okay, so we're going to inherit everything from the HTTP bearer class. And The second parameter is self dot init and auto error. We're going to set it to auto underscore error like that, which is passed here in the init method. Okay, which is set to true basically. Next, we will need to define a call method because we'll need the credentials of the bearer of the token. So here I'm going to use async before the keyword dev to define the function. So, and I explained async await many times in different videos in the Tornado framework. I have a separate video called async IO. But just to put it simply, your computer's resources are being freed from the process and they go to do something else until that slow process is finished, and then the resources are back and continue process. And it's mainly IO processes, not CPU intense processes. Let's take self as first parameter. Then we want to set the request to the request class. And what I want to do now is to create a variable called credentials. And the credentials, I'm going to set it to HTTP authorization credentials. And this is equal to await. Now we are going to await or wait for that long process. And that long process simply is the Jot bearer class, or that class that we're creating actually, the self, is going to call on that request that we have passed. So this is the slow process. Yeah, let's just close that. So we want to check if credentials. Then if credentials is true, we want to check further. So if not credentials dot scheme, and the scheme here is equal to bearer. So in other words, if the credential scheme isn't a bearer scheme, what we want to do, we want to raise an exception. That's why we have imported the HTTP exception method class here. This is a class. So what I want to do is to raise HTTP exception, HTTP exception, and the status code is equal to 403, and the details or the info that I want to give to the user or in the OpenAPI, we want to write invalid or expired token. Else we want to return credentials.credentials. So if credentials is false for any reason, we also want to have this HTTP exception. I will copy it, we'll paste it here. The same exception, the same status code 403. So the last function that I want to create in that Jot bearer class is a verification step for the Jot. So I'm going to call this verify underscore Jot. And this function will essentially verify whether a token is valid or not. That's all. That's all what it does. So it takes self as first parameter and Jot token, which will be of type string. And here I want to ask, is token valid of type bool? And we're going to set this to false. So I'm creating here a variable called isTokenValid of type boolean, and we'll set it to false as a flag. So actually this is a false flag. And I'm going to check out if the payload is true, then isTokenValid is going also to be true. So I will need to import here the Decode Jot Function from the Jot handler. So I'm going to take this to import it in the Jot bearer. So from .jot handler import decode Jot, and I'm going to use that here below. So I'm creating a variable called Payload, and I will take the Decode Jot Function. So we're actually going to decode whatever the Jot token or the JWT token is being passed here. Okay, and I want to check out if payload is true, then is token is equal to true. And at the end, I want to return is token valid. To post any blog post, I will need to depend upon the Jot or the Decode Jot function. No one can just post like that. Only the signed up and logged in users will be authenticated using the Jot in order to post any blog post. So to do that, I will need to import a dependency called depends, actually. Interestingly enough, it's called dependency. And this depends package or depends dependency is being imported from FastAPI. Also, I will need to import from app.auth.jotBearer. I want to import the Jot bearer class. I will need now to add dependencies as an additional argument, and we're going to take depends, and we are going to pass the Jot bearer class. Okay, and we'll add a comma like that. So in post, nothing will change, just we will add the dependency of the Jot bearer class. Make sure that the server is still running. We will refresh and let's take a final look to what we have. So first of all, take a look to that green button, authorize. So this is new. This was created after we have added the Jot bearer class and we have added dependencies for the post. So take a look here for posts. You see that log. So this is actually the authentication that would be necessary in order to post any blog post. So let's take a look to all the routes now. To get the posts or to retrieve the posts, just you will click get post and everything is the same for get posts. All right. If I want to have one post by ID, let's just try that out. Let's try the second post, execute, and we have our second post for Tiger. So there is no actually authentication for getting posts. The authentication is only on posting any post. So let's try to post a blog post without or creating a blog post without authentication. Title, let's say monkeys are fun. And if you will execute that, you will get an error message, detail not authenticated. Right? So to solve that problem, we need to be logged in. And in order to log in, we'll need to sign up first. So let's go ahead and sign up. Try it out. Full name, Bek, info@BekBrace.com, password hello123. Okay, execute, and we receive a token. Now let's go ahead and close that. Let's close the user sign up and open the user login, and let's try it out. And we will log in using our email. So Bek or info@BekBrace.com, password hello123, execute, and we get our token. So we're going to copy that token, Control C, or just click here on the clipboard. And you can get authentication by either clicking on the green button authorize or on clicking on that lock. So if you will click here and let's paste our Jot, click authorize, and we are authorized. Cool. Let's close that. And now you can see here that the lock has been changed and now you are authorized. And if you will try to post that blog post one more time, execute, you will get here info post added. Perfect. Let's check out in our get posts, execute, and we have our fourth post. Monkeys are fun. All right, so it's time to wrap it up. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, also please let me know in the comments below. So until next time, stay safe and be well. Take it easy, guys.